He was a good all-rounder, actually, which is what we liked, what I always liked anyhow. You see, the thing is that our philosophy it used to be that if you have possession of the ball, you're attackers. And if your team loses possession of the ball, you're defenders. He was always laughing and joking, but he knew when to laugh and when to joke and when to be serious. That was the thing about him. He was very serious before all the matches. I think, although he was very cocksure of himself, he probably wasn't on a match day, because I feel that he always suspected that this might be one day when he's not so good. But he was therefore always keyed up for every game. It was quite noticeable in the practice matches that we had in the pre-season training that he was a very hard man, and when people like Dave Mackay was getting out of his way a little bit quick, then I thought to myself, well, he can be another Mackay. That's great.
I love being in his company. It was an absolute pleasure to play with him, because not only could he defend, but he could play as well. And I think he was one of the first overlapping fullbacks which came in through the 70s, and he did it to such good effect. I think he was an ex-winger, but when he got forward he could cross the ball as good as anyone.
From the early days, way back in the early 63, 64, and I mean, Cyril was like a brother to me, really, and a fantastic player, and I think that's shown today, the amount of people that turned up, 13,000, brilliant turnout.
Oh, tremendous character, full of laughter, full of jokes, and he got everybody in the dressing room going, ready for the game, and then we soon got over our disappointments if we lost, because Cyril would crack a joke and we'd be back to normal again. Yeah, terrific.
Tremendous player, great left foot, but I think more importantly he was a magnificent man, and even though Spurs and Arsenal players had great rivalry, we always got on terrific, even on the pitch and off the pitch as well. Wonderful man.
A formidable opponent and a good player to have in your side.
Well, Cyril was an outstanding left back, not only for Tottenham but also for England. Very educated left foot, and a great character both on and off the pitch.
He was a very cultured player, a great left foot, and more than that, he was a nice fellow off the pitch as well.
He's a great character, terrific left back, superb player, good competitor.
Well, he's probably the best fullback we've ever had.
Well, I used to stand on the shelf down at the end where Cyril played, and I just remember him as a good footballer. I'm sure he was a gentleman as well. He wasn't a dirty sort of player. I'm just pleased to be able to come down and remember him like everybody else.
Well, those fans talking warmly about a great hero of the 60s and 70s here at White Hart Lane, Cyril Knowles. And this is John Motson welcoming you to the ground for a tribute to a truly popular and respected professional. The first of two matches today is between the Spurs side of 1971 and their counterparts from Arsenal, and some great names taking part. There's Joe Kinnear, one of Cyril's fullback partners, and two former England men, Martin Peters and Martin Chivers.
I think he was just an incredible footballer. He was a very good footballer. If I start using incredible, everybody thinks we were going over the top. But he was a very, very good player. Played for his country, and he was calmness. He was that's how I remember Cyril. He would never panic in a tight situation. He was a player, an individual player in a defensive position. And he had marvellous players around him. He had Pat Jennings once, in goal, and he had Mike England and Joe Kinnear the other side. We had a wonderful team, and they were all individual artists as well with the ball. Very, very skillful.
Yes, I did. I enjoyed playing with Cyril, and he used to talk to me a lot, helped me through a lot of games, and I respected him for that. So obviously I've got fond memories of him.
Super player, great left back, one of the best of his time. Besides that, a very nice guy. He was played regularly in the side together for about 10 years. I was right back, Cyril was left back. In fact, we both went into our managerial careers together. Cyril went to Articles and I went to Doncaster. And we were always in regular contact about various things in players.
and I really miss him. We used to always have great conversations Monday morning, and we've stayed together all the way through up to the tragedy. He'll be sadly missed. He's a lovely fellow.
Cyril, I think, would always be a player that I would have in my side because he was a good player going forward, excellent player going forward, and he was very determined as a defender. And he was the type of player who put fear into some of the wingers because he was very aggressive at times as a defender. I think one thing he maybe lacked is he wasn't very good ahead of the ball, but he always put up with that because big Mike England was around.
The back four was very rarely changed, I think, for about 10 years. Myself, Cyril, Mike and Pat and Philip Beale, and before that Dave Mackay. And we had a great understanding, and both of us could variously change over during games. I could end up at left back and Cyril could end up at right back. And we had a good understanding. We had a great understanding with Pat Jennings, the goalkeeper, and we had some great times. I think for the 10 years that we were together, I think 9 of them were in Europe. We won 4 trophies together, and really some great happy times.
Well, as a man, he was always a great character and always ready for a laugh and a joke. And the dressing room was never quiet when Cyril was around. Even if we got beat or won or whatever, he would always be there with some kind of quip. So it's a great character to have in the dressing room and in training, of course, as well. On the training side of it was always a laugh. And I think that, not looking back in the past about all of us, but I think we had a side those days who were full of characters.
We was always encouraged from an early age, right from the '67 Cup final when we beat Chelsea, to attack. And both of us tried to play like advanced wingers. And we were both fairly quick. Cyril had a great left foot. It's just a tragedy. It's just a tragedy that he never got more caps than he deserved.
Well, warm words there from Joe Kinnear, and down in the tunnel there at White Hart Lane I can see a few well-known faces waiting for this reunion game between Spurs and Arsenal. Goodness me, there are a few greying hairstyles there, but still the faces bring back so many memories, don't they? George Armstrong there we caught a glimpse of, Phil Beale in the tunnel there playing for Spurs today, and big Mike England, I got a glimpse of him there for a moment, the former Spurs centre-half, and we all know who that is, Frank McClintock, leading out the Arsenal 1971 team. And of course all Spurs fans don't need reminding that Arsenal won the double that year as Spurs had 10 years earlier. So all sorts of memories flooding back as the players take an ovation from this 12,000 crowd here at White Hart Lane, who've assembled today to pay their respects to the great Cyril Knowles. Arsenal first out the tunnel. How many times those steps have been taken by some of those players, memories of great North London derbies in days gone by, of course. And everybody here today so pleased to see so many well-known faces putting the red and white shirt back on again, and as we'll see in a moment or two, the white and blue of Spurs as well. It's really a great occasion here, and George Graham, the current Arsenal manager, coming out at the back. I think he's going to start as substitute from what I've heard. George Armstrong, number 11, is back on the staff now, of course, at Highbury these days. And there are players there who, John Radford is among them, Eddie Kelly. We'll see more of them in a moment, but goodness me, the full-back partnership there of Rice and Nelson. Couldn't forget them, could we, if you're an Arsenal supporter? And for Spurs, who are coming out now, there are some great, I say great names, the team's full of them really. Pat Jennings there, just raising a hand to the crowd as he comes out. And players who've given so much pleasure to the regular supporters down here at White Hart Lane, all coming back today for one such very good reason, to say how much they appreciated the career of Cyril Knowles. And you'll know Cliff Jones there, goodness me, a survivor of the 1961 double team from White Hart Lane, and he's still looking in great fitness. And I can see Bill Nicholson, the manager of that fine Spurs side, the all-conquering Super Spurs, he's on the pitch as well, to bring back even more memories of the great years here at White Hart Lane. And the announcements going on now. There's Ralph Coates there in the picture, Pat Jennings, Joe Kinnear, Martin Peters, still looking very trim indeed. I think that's Terry Naylor down there with John Pratt, Phil Holder, now the manager of Brentford, and Frank Saul, scorer in a cup final once for Tottenham. Mike England, centre-half and former manager of Wales. Chivers, Jones, Beale, the names just come out, one after the other here at White Hart Lane today. And the two sides now assembling for some introductions, for the photographers, for the fans to get a glimpse of heroes of the past. There's Frank McClintock. Paul Barron is in fact in goal for Arsenal today. Pat Rice there. Sammy Nelson, who played at full-back with him, as I said. Willie Young, the old centre-half there of the Arsenal. Peter Storey, once of England as well as Arsenal. And John Samuels in the picture there with Eddie Kelly, two of the midfield players of the past. Big John Radford, a striker who was a formidable player. David Court, and then George Armstrong. And they all get a huge round of applause here at White Hart Lane, and deservedly so. George Graham joining in as the boxer who's, of course, probably the most popular man in his game, Frank Bruno, steps out. Frank's actually going to kick off today before we join Ken Wolstenholme's commentary, and he's coming out now to a big reception to have a word with the young Tottenham mascot there, Adam Berlin, and, of course, with Bill Nicholson. So it's really a day for big names and a lot of nostalgia here at White Hart Lane, and why not? It's a time really for remembering not just Cyril Knowles, but great football matches of the past between Spurs and Arsenal particularly. And a huge round of applause there from both crowd and players. It's a great occasion here at Tottenham, and it's being well received by all concerned. Chance now perhaps for a kick-in, or maybe even a look at the FA Cup, which of course both these great clubs have won so often. Spurs, who won it for the 8th time, a record in this year of 1991. Now some of the old players there will have respected the modern team who won that. Ralph Coates wanting the mascot to join them, I think. Little Adam Berlin is a bit shy, but he's going to come into the picture here, have his photograph taken with players who he may only have heard about from his dad, or maybe even his granddad, you never know. It's a time really for looking back, and there's no shame in that. And Frank Bruno about to kick off. The Arsenal players with him there, David Court, wondering where Frank's going to put the first pass of the afternoon, hopefully right on his foot. So it's all set up then for Spurs versus Arsenal, 1971. Let's join my colleague in the commentary box, Kenneth Wolstenholme.
And Frank Bruno. I'll tell you what, that's a pretty good pass to Martin Peters. I think we'll see this game played at a rather slower pace than normal. But nevertheless, I think we'll see an awful lot of skill. Radford to Samuels. Up comes Frank McClintock. Court. John Samuels. Well, Pat Jennings seemed certain that was going over the top, didn't he? I wasn't all that certain from up here. Big Chivers to John Pratt. Oh, Willie Young up to his old tricks. Or was it Martin Chivers just practicing for the diving competition? Going to take this, Ralph Coates or Martin Peters? Martin Peters. Jones to Pratt. This is the good old traditional Spurs football. Jones to Peters. Oh, what a beautiful run. And that's half-time. Well, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't like to bet how long this half-time is going to last. Martin Peters suggesting they turn right round. don't think he'll find the second of that motion. Now George Graham coming on to play all on his own, I think. And Arsenal kick off. There's George Graham. I've got a feeling George is going to get a bit of stick in this second half. How about that for skills? Neatly made space for himself to get it to Mike England. Phil Beale. Oh, beautiful one to crack from Chivers. Now must be, but it isn't. Touch to Graham. And Rice. Oh. I thought for a moment the goalposts were going to collapse then. That was quite a header from John Samuels. Samuels. Lovely one from England to Chivers. He's got Clippy Jones there. Now then we could see something. Off he goes against Welsh Wizard, Cliff Jones. Coates and Martin Peters. Nice header from Pratt, straight to the ballon there, and it's Arsenal now. What a beautiful ball to John Pratt. Chiller's there with him. And McClintock, as steady as he was in all those great years he played for Arsenal, Queen's Park Rangers, Scotland. A beautiful one to Neighbour. Young conceding the corner. Coming up a shoelace. Back to Neighbour. Taken away by Samuels to Pat Rice to Armstrong, fitting from wing to wing, this fella. Bradford. Jennings, the darling of White Hart Lane once again. These days he just goes around picking up golfing trophies, I can tell you. Jimmy Neighbour. Paul Barron's lost none of his goalkeeping skills. What a lovely ball up. Pat Rice, Radford, number 9 there with him, and John Samuels. Pat Rice. You won't beat Pat Jennings with shots like that. Pratt. Here comes Graham. Martin Chivers. Mike England calling for it to take it quickly. Up goes Jones and up goes England. And the Peters. Oh, Chivers, a lovely one to John Pratt. Now to Neighbour. McClintock who nods it away. Nice overlapping on the right. Samuels to Nelson. Good run off the ball by Samuels. And there's the end of the match. And Pat Jennings turns round and applauds the crowd behind his goal. It's an embrace from John Radford, and the players get a standing ovation from the crowd. The final score is the Tottenham side of 1971 nil, the Arsenal side of 1971 nil. But the main thing is, it was a match played in the right spirit. The crowd were in the right mood, and it was all for a very, very deserving cause. So, Steve Perryman with So this is the big one then. It's the Spurs of 81-82 against the present Spurs side. Kick off. It's going to be hard to what do we call them? Spurs 81 or Spurs 91? Okay, that's what we'll settle for. And up we go with the 90. It's Naeem. Well, I should say the present day side must be favourites, mustn't they? I thought he might have had a few grey hairs after all the troubles at Newcastle, but no, he looks fit enough. Stevie Perryman into Glenn Hoddle. And that's the sort of pass we all love to see at White Hart Lane. Stevie Archibald winning first corner of the match. And it's going to be taken by Glenn Hoddle. Delays. Hoddle. Archibald. Well, a few more deft touches like that from Glenn Hoddle, and maybe Tottenham will be re-signing the Swindon Town manager. From Houghton to Miller. Check it across to Perryman. Mickey Hazard. You cheeky monkey. It's Hoddle. To Galvin, and it's the 81 boys moving forward. Archibald. Well, these fellas don't look all that bad, do they? 10 years on. Sedgley continue to move forward. Now deciding he's not wanted, so he goes back, and it's Naeem. Walsh. Walsh is going to hate Ray Clements for this, isn't he? Hazard to Archibald. Oh, Brooks almost got it. That was a super move by the boys of 81. Archibald now keeps his cool, but he doesn't. This shows you the advantage of having accurate passes of the ball in your side. Archibald to Crooks, Archibald, and that's almost the first goal to the team of 81. You can't say they don't deserve one. Clements anticipating that well. Samways, and off goes Walsh. And it goes to the patient Naeem. Samways, Naeem, Samways, lovely bit of football, and that's the first goal. Vinnie Samways. And would you believe it? Boos. Interspersed with some deserved applause for a clever bit of football. "35 minutes, Vinnie Samways, 1-0 for the 91s. Ardiles. Hazard. Huddle. Boom. And the header. Oh, what a great save. And the whistle goes for half-time with the team of 91 in the lead by 1-0. The goal scorer, Vinnie Samways, after 35 minutes, and once again the crowd rising to these 22 players for what really has been a feast of football in this first half. But the half-time score then, the team of 91 leading the team of 81 by 1-0. And so welcome back to the second half with the Spurs team of the present day leading by 1-0. Goal scored by Vinnie Samways after 35 minutes. I have a sneaking feeling that the crowd are right behind the team of 81. It's shown us some marvellous passing skills just like that from Glenn Hoddle. And Miller forward to Ardiles. And off goes Allen. You can see the difference then with the speed of the modern player. And oh, go Clements! I wonder how he's going to explain that away to his reserve team players. Well, do you give that to Scott Houghton or do you give it to Clements' home goal? Well, the odds have been very much on the present day side. obvious reasons right from the start. But now with a 2-goal cushion, they should be safely home and dry. Brooks has just gone off, and who comes on with Mark Falco? Oh, a run. Ray Clements is going off. And Chris Day going into goal for the team of 81, and Ray Clements going into the dugout. But quite a reception, I can tell you. One or two throwing gloves at him. And it's good to hear the crowd now singing that Cyril Knowles anthem. A nice one, Cyril. Mark Falco has come on for the 81 team. And I remember right, Mark Falco, I think, got a couple of goals yesterday. And there's Glenn Hoddle. Watch. Samways. And a Walsh. Ooh, that was curling in, not very far away. Ozzy Ardile is up to Hoddle. Well, this might be a friendly. It might be just a testimonial match. But there's been a lot of lovely football. A lot to please the people who paid money to come and see the game and at the same time pay their tribute to Cyril Knowles. Now Samways. They're taken away by Graham Roberts. Up to Hazard. Stevie Archibald. Beautiful goal scored by the number 14 who came on as a substitute, Mark Falco. And that's pleased the crowd. 2 goals to 1. Steve Pettyman going off. See Glenn Hoddle get a goal. Naive to Allen. Houghton. Ozzy Ardiles going out. Bad pass from Walsh, but offside anyway. Two goals to one. Presently Spurs leading. And Walsh coming back to help his defence. Not with a great deal of success. Now Hendon. To Frank Falco. Well, you can see which side the crowd's on. Shout of handball then. Wanting the ref to give the 81 team a penalty. That's Naeem. Houghton. Chip into the middle, surely. Oh, that one really got away from Stevie Archibald, didn't it? Walsh finds Houghton. That's a nasty curler. Roberts. Buzz of excitement every time Glenn Hoddle gets anywhere near the ball. And what about that for a great goal? Gibson. Number 12, Terry Gibson, equalises the score, and I doubt whether we'll see a better shot than that at White Hart Lane all season. 2 goals each, though. Naeem. I'm sure the present-day team will want to knock one in and get back into the lead. And it's Naeem now. Setting up another attack by the present-day side, and Walsh is running to space. There he is. Then he's run into trouble. Chris Shilton getting out of a tight spot. Finding Gibson. Now Hoddle. Oh, That's very un-Hoddle-like, isn't it? Galvin. Big lad, Falco. Archibald waiting in the middle. Oh, the team of 81 certainly not flagging, are they? Archibald. Galvin. It was a beautiful dummy. Offered and sold. Now Houghton. The legs going like piston rods, aren't they? What a dreadful finish. Galvin. Forward to Gibson. Now to Hoddle. Hendon getting his team out of trouble now to Walsh. Houghton, as solid as a rock, gets it to Hoddle, and away come the 81 team. And Hoddle. Glorious chip to Archibald. Really was Super League stuff. And the white shirts coming back. And they're making the present day team realise they've certainly been in a game. Essentially across to Hendon. Off goes Walsh on one of his runs. And Galvin has worked as hard as anybody on this pitch. To Hoddle. Naeem. Appeal for offside, not given. Chance thrown away then. Naeem. Archibald is on the right, but unseen. Houghton. To Naeem. The pace is, one would imagine, now slowing down. And the whistle goes for the end of the match, and I'm sure it's the result that everyone would want. 2 goals each, and once again the crowd rises, give the player a standing ovation. And really, this has been a fine afternoon's entertainment, a superb tribute to a superb footballer, Cyril Knowles, who will never be forgotten here at White Hart Lane, and Team 81 getting a tremendous cheer from the crowd, who thoroughly enjoyed themselves. And so the final score, the Tottenham Hotspur team of 1981-82, 2 goals scored by Falco and Gibson, and the present-day Spurs, 2 goals scored by Vinnie Samways and Ray Clements own goal.
These are the sort of things that are great for the game, and it was lovely to come and be all together, and you know, on a sad occasion from Cyril, but it's a credit to Cyril and the guy that he was.
A lot of people turned up, not just to see these plays, but to pay their respects to a man much loved by Tottenham supporters.
Great play by the lads, and unfortunate not to be in front maybe at half-time, but it wasn't all about that. It was about entertaining people, and I think everybody that came here today, it's been a great turnout for Cyril's family. That they've been entertained. That's been the most important thing.
Cyril was always a guy, when the pressure was on, he would come up with something funny. He had that mischievous look about him and a twinkle in his eye, and somehow you don't get that in modern day football. I don't know if it's got more intense, but there was quite a few footballers about at that time who could just turn a tense situation into something funny, and Cyril was definitely one of those.
Tremendous defender with a lot of skill, and not only defending, going forward as well. You know, the number of times he went on overlaps was nobody's business.
Well, as a player, obviously he was a great asset to the side as an attacking fullback in particular. He used to get forward down the left-hand side and create a number of opportunities for Big Chiv and myself, and also qualities of a defensive side, that he was very strong and hard tackler. As a person, he was one of the type of lads who would be jolly all the time and crack funny jokes in the dressing room and always keep people on their toes.
Well, he was a lad that could instill a little bit of happiness and lightheartedness in the dressing rooms, and yet, even though he was pretty serious, he knew when he could be funny, but he knew when it mattered that he was got down to it, knuckled down to it. As a player, he was very consistent, confident in himself, a hard man, difficult to play against, very difficult to play against. Not many players like to play against Knowles here, but still he was a fair man, and a lad who would love to attack, and he loved to be involved in things, and he liked the way we played. He liked everything about our setup, the team-wise, and what we should all be doing. He was more interested in what everybody else was doing as well. So obviously, when you got that sort of thing, I'm not saying that Cyril was the only one, but there was others in the team that were very similar to Cyril. So you're in with a good chance.
Cyril rewarded many, many people over the years, particularly with his service at Tottenham. God rest him.